Ready to do this?
Rock and roll, baby.
Rock and roll, baby. That's right. Tradition around the Dubra house, we always make scones, and today I have my favorite little helper, Felix, who's going to help you learn how to make our scone recipe.
And I make good food.
Good food. Are you ready to get started, Felix?
You got it, Mom.
You got it, Mom. Okay, so first we're going to add 3 cups of flour. We've got 2 bowls. One is for our dry ingredients. The other one's going to be for our wet ingredients. Can you count these for me, Felix?
Yeah. 1, 2.
This is 2.
2.
Okay. All right, 3 cups of flour. Go ahead and mix it with the big spoon. Okay, so next we're going to add our sugar. Depending on the kind of scones I'm making, I sometimes vary the sugar. Today we're making black cherry and chocolate chip scones. So these tend to be on the sweeter side with all the chocolate. So we're only gonna add 1/2 cup of sugar. Okay, here you go, Felix. Okay, so add your 1/2 cup of sugar to the flour. Go ahead and mix that in, Fifi. Woo! Okay, buddy. Next up, we are going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And of course, I'm not using a measuring spoon because I have no idea where they disappeared to in this kitchen. Rarely do I measure when I bake. I usually just kind of throw it together. We're gonna mix that in with our sugar and our flour, a little dash of salt. So next up, we're gonna add our butter, and there's a really cool trick you can use to help get that butter ground in really fine. The key is to make sure your butter is super cold. We're not gonna pull it out of the refrigerator until we're ready to use it. So the key is going to be to use a cheese grater. So you can see I have one right here. We're gonna use the coarser side.
You got it, Mom. In my heart.
In my heart too. Here's our stick of butter. We're gonna use 1 stick of butter in this recipe. Once you have it unwrapped, it's kind of sticky, so we're just gonna roll it around in that flour. And then we're going to grate pieces into the mixture. Go ahead and mix in that butter. So using your cheese grater allows you to get it nice and fine. And normally they say to kind of cut it in with like a pastry mixer, but I find that this works way better because as soon as the little grated pieces of butter fall into the flour, they get coated and it keeps them from sticking together, and it makes for a nice consistency through the mixture. Great job mixing. You're a good helper. Okay, we're getting down to the end. Keep mixing that in, my little buddy. Today, what are we making, Felix?
Scones.
Scones, that's right. All right, so after we have our full stick of butter ground in there, we're gonna mix it thoroughly so all the butter's nice and coated with flour. It should resemble kind of a coarse meal, kind of a more of a coarse, grainy mixture. So next up, while I'm chopping up the cherries, I'm gonna have Felix start mixing our wet ingredients, which is what this small bowl is for. Here's your mixer. Take 1 egg and about 1 cup of milk. Well, we don't drink milk in this house, so I always just use almond milk. I'm sure you could use oat milk. I think the original recipe called for heavy cream, but again, in this house, we generally don't have much dairy besides butter. So we're just gonna use 1 cup of almond milk. Felix is gonna mix that egg and that almond milk together. And then we're gonna add about 1 teaspoon of vanilla.
Banana.
Vanilla.
Might eat it.
We're gonna eat it after we bake it. So while Felix is mixing our wet ingredients, I'm going to chop up our dark cherries. Now, this is another key to making sure your scones don't dry out. The trick is to use frozen berries. Now, the frozen berries, as they cook, give off some moisture and allows to keep your scones nice and moist, right? So we're gonna use a whole bag of dark sweet cherries. This is a 12-ounce package. Fifi, is this a grown-up part? Yes, this is the grown-up part because Mama's gonna use a big knife. And I'm going to just coarsely chop these. While you're doing this, another tip is to make sure you watch out for pits, because even though they're already pre-pitted, it's pretty common to come across one that has a pit.
Yeah, and be careful, you'll cut your hand off.
That's right, we don't want to cut our hand off. Oh,
Don't touch it.
you shouldn't touch it.
I did touch it.
Don't touch it.
Mom.
Oop, there we go. That's one of those pits that I was talking about.
Pit.
So the pit is still in there, and we don't want to break our tooth on that, do we? So we're just going to set that one aside. So I would just say we cut these into about quarters. Surprisingly, they're very easy to cut while frozen. Okay, so now that we've got our cherries chopped, we're going to add them to our dry mixture. Go ahead and load those in. This is the part that gets a little sticky. Yep, you get to
I mixed it.
Yep, you get to mix. Okay, Felix, mix them up. So we just added our chopped cherries to our dry mixture. Mix them in real good until the cherries are completely covered. You're such a good mixer. You're a good helper, you know that?
Why can't I eat cherries?
Well, we can eat them, but we want to cook them first, right?
Hey, Mom, I don't need some help.
You don't need help? You can do this on your own? Okay. So next up, we're going to add our chocolate chip, a half a bag of just regular semi-sweet chocolate chips. Fifi's going to add them into the bowl here. You ready, bud? Yeah.
Okay, cherries in. Now I'm going to mix them.
Now you got to mix them. So go ahead and mix those chocolate chips in. So this next part is kind of a grown-up part.
No?
Just because it starts to get a little bit difficult to mix once we add our wet ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and add our milk and our egg and vanilla.
Then I'm going to mix it.
And then we're going to mix it in. So I'm just going to help you, okay, buddy?
Okay.
Okay. As you're adding that milk in, it's going to seem dry. And you're going to wonder, oh man, is this really enough to mix this together? And surprisingly, it is. As you work and the cherries start to defrost a bit, you'll start to see it get more consistent.
Ew.
Oh, buddy, let's not get too wild, okay? This next part, Mama's gonna take over because we're gonna make sure that we get this nice and thoroughly mixed. The next part is where I make it into what looks like a pizza.
Mom, put your hands in our turning pizza.
So now that we got all the dry ingredients on the cutting board, we're gonna create kind of a little pizza patty with it.
I have to go get sticky.
Your hands are gonna get sticky, that's right, Felix. This is the kind of the messy part now, isn't it? We're gonna push it all together. And you kind of want to mix it until it's a little bit more of an even consistency.
I see Mom's doing.
Yeah, I see what Mom's doing. So after we've got the consistency a little more even, we're gonna pat it down on our cutting board. We're gonna flatten it out into about a 12-inch pizza.
Timer goes off. You stop doing that.
Now that we've got it nice and
Now I can
flat,
cut it.
you can see we've got our little pizza shape. We're actually gonna use a sharper knife, and you can help Mama with this if I hold the knife, okay? Deal?
Yeah, dear.
Okay. We're gonna use that same knife that we used to chop our cherries to cut this into equal quarters. So we're gonna go right down the middle, like this, and we're gonna turn it, and we're gonna divide that in half again.
Mom, I want to go to the park.
You can help me in just a minute. Okay, so then we have equal quarters. From there, we're gonna cut each of these quarters into quarters again. So this will make 16 scones total, okay? So from there, we're going to cut our quarters in half. Go slow, bud. Boom. Boy, this is dangerous. And then from there, we're gonna cut those in half again. So my helper decided to bail because he wasn't allowed to use the knife by himself. All right, so you can see our 16 quarters right here. Oh my gosh. Hey, Fifi, are you coming back here to help or what? Baking with kids is so fun, isn't it? You having fun?
No.
Let's line our baking sheets. You ready? Now that we have our baking sheets lined with parchment, we're gonna put our scones on the cookie sheets and we're gonna bake them. Well, I hope you enjoyed our video on how to make scones. Hopefully you learned something. If you ever have any questions, you can message us, right, Fifi?
Yep. Now goodbye. Give me a big thumbs up. Grab to my time.